Hello and welcome back to Aston Martin F1 Manager 22 Race 16 Monza, the Temple of Speed, as I believe it's also known as. So, that's not a strength of ours. Might be a little bit more of a strength next race, ironically, but not here. If you've not watched last episode, I do suggest you go watch it now because I am going to talk about it because, well, I mean, you can sort of also see it already, but go watch it now. Yes, they closed up. The teams behind us closed up because we had a very, very bad race, all things considered. Probably our worst race of the season, actually. That might be our worst net result, with only 10 points. And those 10 points going to young Mick Schumacher because drivers still can't get on the track when there is a suitable gap. I can't do anything about it. They're not going to do anything about it now because it's May. So it might even be June by the time this releases. And F1 Manager 23 is on its way. In fact, by the time this goes live, we're going to be a couple of weeks out from the EA F1 game. So, whilst I'm not certain we've got the precise release date of F1 Manager 23, one would presume it to be August. And I think that might be partially why the EA game is releasing slightly earlier, is to put a bit more of a gap between the two. All the team news was effectively done at the end of last episode just because it was a truncated episode due to issues with qualifying. Speaking of, that's where I will see you now. We do have to pay attention to qualifying because the last two races, the AI have not understood time. So we'll see if that problem persists. But yes, I will see you for qualifying in a moment. And welcome back. Don't read into this. I got a little bit bored during practicing because it was such a straightforward set of practice sessions. I decided to actually use ERS on one of their laps and yeah, they did okay. Don't expect a pole here. Obviously car part knowledge is down because we technically added two very minor change parts. I kind of feel like car parts knowledge should not just be effectively a set 1/6 if you change a car part. I think it should be based on how much that car part has actually changed, because I put on two very minor difference parts and it would still took off a full third, even though the car is effectively the same plus maybe about 0.2% at best on anything. But oh well. Now we need to have a discussion about Pierre Gasly. I don't think this is the best track for penalties, and nor do I think Singapore is either. Although you do get a lot of safety cars at Singapore. The issue lies primarily in the gearbox, where our best one is 77. I do fear if I was to penalise him here, nobody else is penalised either. I do fear if I was to penalise him here, that he struggled to get through just because of the DRS zones. Obviously, Mick can use his pass from Zandvoort. It's weird that we start 19-20 and not in the order of the pit boxes or the previous standings. Don't know what that's all about. 7 minutes to go. Some people haven't done a lap. More of them are filtering in now. 4 to go. And they should be able to just get a lap in and then in and out again. Okay, so just in terms of getting back to the pit and getting to do a flying lap, this feels a little bit more normal. There's nobody that's super late. There's nobody doing a lap or finishing a lap effectively as they should be coming out to do a second lap. Two people still on track, but they should be able to get in and out again. It'd be literally a case of getting in, putting tyres on, sending them straight back out again. Gasly 5th, fine. Mick 9th. I dare say they're both fine. I did think the Alfa Romeos had a little bit more in them. Ocon's got something, I think, because he's 8/10 off Hamilton. The two Hasses are a good solid half a second behind. The two Williamses is obviously right at the very bottom. Albon's with Mick Schumacher, yet Doohan's 15th. I feel like he might have more. I feel like Russell might have more. They're coming out normal this time. Does look like we're going to have a normal qualifying session. I don't think I need to risk Mick Schumacher. I think the two Hasses, the two Williams, and I think the two Alfa Romeos are slower. And then there's a question mark whether the Alfa Tauris and Ricciardo still are. Ocon and Russell are the two I'm expecting to go ahead. But I'm going to save soft tyres here because they can come in handy, I think. If this was a real qualifying, I would 100% send Mick again with track evolution. 5/10 in a real qualifying session? Not at all. But in a qualifying session on this game, where it's literally about 2/10 at best. In fact, I don't think anyone's gotten out of the bottom 5 yet. Someone just went top. Was it Bottas who went top of all? Albon usurps Mick Schumacher, and that is it. Albon does have a penalty. He's the only one with a penalty. Interesting, it says Logan Sargent only did 4 laps. That implies he didn't get round. But Ocon doesn't get out of the bottom 5, and neither does Danny Rick, which is surprising. No hindrances for our lads. He says, well, actually, we would have got a nice toe off Jack Doohan. First laps on news tyres, 3rd and 6th, which is interesting. Sainz had a spin. Perez is clearly out of sync. Bottas is very much out of sync after having done the best lap in Q1. So that's 3 people immediately we can expect to get ahead of Mick Schumacher. Russell done a better lap. In fact, 3 people is exactly correct for Pierre Gasly right now, because he was 6th, I think, at the end of Q1. Mick was 10th because Albon also got ahead of him. So, yeah, effectively Mick's fighting for 9th or 10th here. I'd say Gasly is fine, but I would question Mick just in case there's another person who decides to find a 2/10 or whatever. Jack Doohan I'm looking at in particular. Because he was good in qualifying. What? I don't know what's happened to him. He had like 3 very good qualifyings, then it's disappeared again. If anything, people are going too early now. I was waiting for the second Ferrari. We ended up behind a McLaren, but sure. Norris is competent. On board with Mick Schumacher for Monza. 6th place right now. Did go on used tyres, of course. I'm slightly concerned that everyone's on used tyres now I think about it. Oh, Sector 2's had a moment. That's going to hold up Hamilton. And whichever Red Bull that was, it was Verstappen. That's a shame. If it had been Perez, that would have guaranteed him being behind. So I think Albon and Magnussen have done their lap. So Magnussen is guaranteed behind Mick. Albon has gone ahead. But only by effectively 23 thousandths. And he's done a better first sector for the first time in history on fresh tyres. Gotta love that. Checker flag's out. Gasly is stuck where he is. Zhou and Vettel stay bottom 5. Perez goes 3rd. Bottas has also jumped up to 4th, as you would expect. Sainz must be the 2nd Ferrari, because he's not crossed the line yet. Leclerc, I think, has crossed the line ahead of the checker flag and stayed 2nd. Verstappen, obviously slow because he had his moment. Hamilton would have been held up in that yellow flag. Jack Doohan stays 15th. Someone has gone ahead of Mick there, though. Oh, it's Sainz. Mick finds 2 hundredths on fresh tyres. 2 100ths. He finds... Dear Frontier, tyre wear, please. Next year, please can we have actual tyre wear mechanics next year rather than whatever you've got in place here? 2 100ths. Actually, the faster first sector as well. I'd love to know what the sector times were. Still, he's through. Russell, thank God, was slower. Carlos Sainz has a penalty now. Interesting. Mick's on news, Pierre's on his Q3 set. Might have had to just deal with traffic there, or a lot of traffic actually. That's irritating. Then, in theory, we should have got in the way of them, so put Mick on the Q3 set. Both have something to prove here. Albon went almost hilariously early there. 1 Red Bull, 1 Ferrari, 2 Red Bull. I just can't be bothered to wait for the other... Oh, I was about to say I can't be bothered to wait for the other Ferrari. The other Ferrari's out. He went first. Still plenty enough time to get across the line and flying laps. This time Pierre Gasly in 9th as things stand. Massively hindered on his original lap. Almost immediately actually. Verstappen, I think they caught in the chicane and then there was Hamilton further around the lap and God knows. But faster first sector as you would hope. Mick directly behind. No one annoyingly for Pierre to get a toe off, which is a shame just because I misread the situation with the Ferraris. But they will be effectively... I mean, they are kind of probably a good solid 5, 6, 7 seconds behind on track. If track evolution was the thing, but they would have the best conditions. Fastest middle sector for Pierre as well. That does imply hindrances in both, although we have no idea what those sectors mean. Oh, F1 Manager 23, please put actual plus minuses compared to our previous lap times, just to give us an idea of how well they're doing. Just plus minus on anyone, frankly, would be great. Just to have a better indication of what they're actually doing. Being green means nothing if it's 1,000th better. Pierre goes 5th. Ahead of Sainz. Mick does get Albon at last for 9th. And we've got to obviously remember that Pierre Gasly doesn't have the pristinest of car parts for this weekend, nor will he next weekend. But okay then. New softs did factor in here. Softs factor in such a way that it's not going to get you anywhere, annoyingly. Whereas medium to hard just keep you effectively faster longer. So yeah, I'm not going to faff around with that. Looks like Mick Schumacher is benefiting from Carlos Sainz's penalty. Just check out to put deploy there. Mild panic I put the other one.
Here we are at the oldest circuit in Europe for this, the Italian Grand Prix. And it's lights out and away we go.
Indeed it is. Mick Schumacher does benefit from Sainz's penalty. Having qualified 6th, it put him 9th, but Sainz gets him immediately off the line. But I dare say Mick might have the beneficial position out of everything there. No, he doesn't. Excellent work, Mick. Excellent work. You can see the difference in the ERS, actually. Gasly down to 55, Mick down to 59. Not a huge difference, but noticeable. It says Gasly overtakes Norris, but Gasly started 5th anyway, so I don't know what that's all about. Must have technically registered him as being overtaken originally.
It's good to come on.
Not quite sure why it's saying overtake failed for Pierre there. It didn't look like he even tried one. The front 4 are fighting each other, and Pierre's just going, leave him to it. I'll sort out the mess afterwards. In fact, he's actually going 3 wide, I think, down this back straight, but folding in. And I'll return here. Albon's penalty, not enough to take him actually to the back of the grid. It was only a minor one. It might have been a practice penalty that I didn't notice then, because it only took him down 5 places, I would hazard a guess at. So it was either one car part that gives you a 5-place penalty, or it was a 5-place penalty from an incident in practice. Okay, don't deploy anymore, lads. Don't push your tyres. You've got a little wiggle room, but not that much wiggle room. We'll just try and exploit the fact that people are going to be driving around on very old tyres at some point during this race. I mean, you are trying to get Carlos sides here, Mick, which I dare say not going to go well in the long term. Who's on softs in this front batch, incidentally? Just Leclerc and Verstappen. Only Zhou and Sargent lower down. Of course, we don't know who's going to hard and who's going to soft until the pit stops happen. But until things start separating out, I might not actually even bother pushing the fuel. Because as long as Mick can hold on to Sainz with DRS, then we're fine, really. This is the earliest I've ever come off fuel push, just on the full understanding of how Monza plays out. So as long as Mick does not go outside of a second at any point on this lap, I am concerned that if I had to use 7/10 off Sainz right now. But you do get DRS there. Of course, the problem is you get DRS... They get DRS as well, so it's actually net pointless. So actually, Mick does need to push. There's been an incident. That is Valtteri Bottas tumbling down. I do need to deploy because he's not keeping up. So turn one, where they just... Oh, he's actually done a normal off of turn one. Mick Schumacher somehow ended up perpendicular to the corner in one of the practices by going off there. I don't know how, but he did. It was on the grass pointing left. I don't understand this. I don't understand how Mick can't stay in touch. Gasly's done the fastest lap somehow. So Bottas isn't last because Stroll's also had an off at some point. I can't deploy Mick forever, so he is just going to lose out long term. Oh, he's got back DRS again. Don't know when and how, but he has. But I now can't actually push his fuel, so this might be a case of just holding on as long as possible. Mick's now done the fastest lap somehow. Multiple cars crashed. I just saw debris. Mick's not involved, but I saw debris. So it is the cars ahead. It's Hamilton and Sainz. Safety car now. That is way too early to be doing anything, right? Ooh, it's 66 laps on a hard tyre and there are 40 remaining. I think a hard tyre would actually get to the end. Just. It would. 4 seconds slower overall race time, but you get the pit stop out of the way. And that's probably, what, about 36, 37%? Bearing in mind, of course, that we are going to be behind a safety car for 2 laps as well, which will preserve them for an extra 2 laps. The only problem comes with the fact that then you lose track position, which depending on when they pit, it believes you save 10 seconds under a safety car pit stop wise compared to a normal one. Soft tyre runners might pit now. Is Sainz out? Oh, Sainz is out. And Hamilton will have to pit with penalty. So how far apart are they just driver to driver? Well, they're 2 seconds apart, actually, our drivers. They would have to double stack if we pitted them. I say double stack. As long as there's 2 seconds between them, that's about the length of an actual pit stop. So Mick would only lose probably at most a second, maybe 2. And it wouldn't make a difference because they'd probably be both at the back of the grid anyway. This is interesting. I can let this lap play out a little bit just to see if that gap builds. Well, I'm thinking if you go on hards now and there's a later safety car, we can go back onto mediums or softs or whatever. Interestingly, the gap to the leader for Mick has not changed at all, weirdly. I'm looking at the gap backwards and Pierre could get back out ahead of Bottas, I think, if it's a 17 seconds and we're fast. I just realised I did all that consideration without you seeing me. I'm taking a risk. It might ruin our race, but I'm going to take a risk.
Drop back a bit.
I don't think changing that conserve actually makes a difference at this point, but I just kind of want them to spread out a smidge. Oh, Leclerc and Verstappen do pit, of course. Actually, is Mick going to hold them up? That is a slow pit stop. Why was that 3.5 seconds? Why was that the time they have a slow pit stop? I don't think it makes a huge difference for Mick. Also, can we just say 17 seconds my arse for a safety car pit stop there? Like, I know we had a slow pit stop, but Verstappen is behind Tsunoda. For a safety car pit stop, that was not 17 seconds. They had 23 seconds. Leader to Tsunoda was 23 seconds, and they were with the leader, so let's say 22 for the sake of benefit. That was about a 22-second pit stop for all people involved. At the very least, Pierre's got Verstappen directly ahead, though. So in terms of the championship, it doesn't really make that much difference.
Some lift and coast.
So just let Sargent get caught up. Safety car will be in this lap, that's for certain. Indeed it is. Of course, the only soft strategy was soft to medium. I just realised soft to hard would have been a completely viable strategy now I think about it, but they're soft to medium, so Verstappen and Leclerc will have to pit again, probably, because they pitted early. But interestingly, Pierre's put himself on the inside of Verstappen already, which is a curious choice. I don't know if he's going to have to yield here or not, but I don't know if that's going to give him the run on Tsunoda, because I don't know who Tsunoda going to try and block.
Focus.
I mean, it says he's overtaking Gasly. We're still fighting here. I can see him. He's right there. This is the problem. This is what I'm talking about over the last couple of Grand Prix is when you're fighting, the car in front is just a massive problem. Because unless you sort of outbrake them and go up the inside of them as well.
It's good, come on.
It says failed. We've actually technically got him. But now he's blocking Verstappen, but he's going to block me now. But now he's blocking Verstappen again. And now he's blocking Pierre. I think Verstappen's still there. You just can't see him, yeah. I think he's actually got the position, so now he can actually attack Sonoda. So that was crucial. That was crucial because he is about 8/10 off. Weirdly, we never got the replay for Verstappen. That says about as much as we can push with Pierre and still make the end of the race. I don't think Mick has quite the same capabilities as Pierre in terms of taking Max Verstappen legitimately on track. But so we just let Max take Sonoda, I think, and then we'll try and take Sonoda and follow Max through with Mick. Bear in mind that we didn't push him at all. So Max might have Sonoda already. Now we deploy. Might not even bother pushing Mick's tyres ever.
Can use any.
Are you going to outbrake Sonoda into this? No? Okay. I'll attack him until you overtake the Williams. Outbrake him into this chicane. This is a horrible camera angle. No. Bear in mind you're going to struggle to keep up with Max anyway. It was imperative he got past straight away and didn't. He's got him here though, I think.
That's it.
Because DRS is a thing now.
Good job.
Got a bit of fuel. Schumacher's got Sonoda. Keep an eye on that interval. Mick Schumacher needs to stay within a second of Max Verstappen here. Bottas remarkably got ahead of everyone through those pit stops. I say ahead of everyone, it's because he went off. He didn't actually have a pit stop. That's what I'm forgetting. So Verstappen and Ricciardo fight behind. Gasly is now officially within DRS of someone, Jack Doohan, who I don't remember being there before, so he must have been overtaken. There goes the push for Mick, because he's now behind Ricciardo on older mediums. Both of them have DRS for the time being, though. That's not going to make a difference. Pierre Gasly, however, has Jack Doohan. I always forget when making safety car considerations that the fact that you'll get bunched up again behind the safety car. So it's not just a net gain through the safety car period in terms of just pit stop being quicker because everyone's going slower. It's the fact that you end up within effectively 7 seconds of the leader, no matter where you end up in the line. It's just obviously then it all spreads out if you get stuck behind slower cars. Gasly's got Bottas there as well. He's doing superb work. Verstappen's on the fastest lap, as you probably expect. Mick has Ricciardo and is still within range of Max Verstappen, actually. Good job from Mick, as long as he stays within DRS ranges. I think the advantage that he's got here is the fact that Verstappen's getting stuck on slower cars as well. So I think that was the other soft runners pitting, Zhou and Sargent. Still a little bit of a ways till the medium to hard runners. Verstappen's taken Jack Doohan. Leclerc's taken Ocon. Of course, Leclerc pitted as well. I forgot about that. Leclerc pitted with Verstappen and came out ahead of, I think it was Sonoda, so he's benefited a lot more, actually, because he's had one less person to get past. Pierre's done the fastest lap of all people now. I'm not sure how on hards, but okay. We are looking at Mick Schumacher here, trying to deal with Jack Doohan and failing. Verstappen's got Bottas as well. We'll try and deploy Mick. You say we need a faster vehicle for Mick to be stuck behind, not him. Pierre doesn't have a great deal of energy, but I'm going to deploy him on this straight, on a similarly DRSing Ocon, just to try and get him past and make sure Pierre's not the one under threat from Max. And done so. Mick similarly also got Doohan. That's what we needed. He needs to stay in touch with Bottas. In fact, just to make sure we actually do stay in the range of Bottas. Doing pits anyway, so that's irritating. DRS happened for Mick, so he should be okay. Just bouncing around the 7/10 mark, but of course as soon as we deploy past him, he's pitted anyway, hasn't he? Great. So that's one lap of medium to hard runners going through. Russell, Ocon, Magnussen, Doohan, Sonoda. Those teams that may have been putting both drivers on the same strategy might pit now. No one has. Okay, so we'll have to presume the remainder are doing medium to soft, as Pierre's now having to defend from Max Verstappen instead of attacking Vettel. No, we'll take this opportunity to harvest instead, because we're pretty certain Max is going to have to pit again. So we might as well just try and not fight him. Bottas is going to have to pit at some point too, and Mick's keeping him honest. In fact, Mick's at the back of a DRS train here, so I just might let him harvest as well. Okay, so now Vettel's been cleared by Max. Pierre will attack Vettel instead. Vettel probably has just hung on to DRS for this lap, but nonetheless, Pierre might go for an overtake regardless, as Verstappen deals with Albon, I think it is. Pierre's taken Vettel, and Vettel pits anyway. It's a bit of harvest for Mick. As Bottas is threatening to lose DRS himself, he might be able to have it on him next lap. So going on to hards when we did allow us to get to the end of the race if necessary, but also allows us to react if there is another safety car. Now we can go back onto mediums if we think we can get out in time. We can go on softs later in the race if necessary, if, you know, the laps permit. So everyone has DRS on everyone right now. Kind of hoping Albon falls out of it. Leclerc and Verstappen obviously on equal tyres, so they're just fighting each other legitimately on track now. The 2 seconds of Leclerc technically had an advantage because of the carbs that were in between the two has now evaporated. Bottas is actually having a look at Pierre here just because of Albon's roadblockiness. If Pierre could attack and rather than defend, that would be superb here. No DRS for AlphaTauri. 3 wide into this chicane. It's not going to end well for somebody. Albon. Why did I say he gained 2 positions? I think it's technically suggesting that Bottas got ahead of him briefly there. Bottas still needs to pit, so he's doing medium to soft then. We'll keep that one in mind. Because those that are doing medium soft, obviously, if then going to lose a pit stop, but then they'll gain on softs. So I don't know if they'll gain enough on softs to reclaim a pit stop. At least a clean pit stop anyway. Problem here now is Gasly is 2 seconds off the lead. Someone's gone off in sector 2. Not really going to make a difference. Why is Bottas fighting as hard as he is? He's on 49% mediums. What the actual flip? We've harvested. Now we'll unharvest. Stop making this difficult, Valtteri. Mick's failed to get past Albon behind just to be irritating. So Perez and Norris should be holding their front lot up. So we should be faster than them. Mick, how have you still failed to get Albon? Seriously, mate. I wonder how long it'll take for either Leclerc or Verstappen to get into that top 2. Too busy fighting each other for the time being. Oh, Mick actually gets Albon whilst harvesting. Because of course he does. Just DRS, but with deployment he couldn't get him. I think it's because he lost DRS, yeah. Okay. So he's now behind, unfortunately. He's out of DRS on Pierre/Valtteri. But I do wonder if we get into this train. We need to just get into this train and get DRS before Bottas gets us, which we have done. So if Mick could get into that train now, that would be superb. Oh, as they pit, so that's unfortunate. So he's pitted in an interesting moment because Verstappen was out of DRS on Leclerc and we rejoined watching Pierre overtake Max. I actually watched that in full. Yeah, so Max didn't have DRS, Pierre did, overtook him. Done. Relatively simple. I'm actually going to deploy Mick here just to see if he can get... Oh, Bottas is pitted anyway, along with Albon, so that's ruined any chance of getting caught up. No point trying now.
Lift and coast will help.
So with Pierre ahead of Max and actually not being re-overtaken, let's see if we can get within a second of Charles. Not through the chicanes, we don't. I don't know if we're... But we did get it. Did just get it. So that's the important thing. Getting closed up to Charles means that we can then stay in DRS from here on in, I would imagine. Mick's now in no man's land, unfortunately. And everyone's pitted, so... I do wonder if Perez on softs will actually get caught up by the end of the race. 20 laps to go. They've all pitted onto U softs. I'll be fascinated to see what that time is. He's obviously got to deal with Hamilton first as well, so that might be a few laps. Well, Gasly's taken the lead. I'm not going to be too excited by this because obviously all 3 vehicles here are capable of fighting for this lead. That was outside of DRS, actually. It was probably helped by DRS to get into the position to be able to do that overtake there, but that was on just a normal non-DRS corner. There's no point really watching, Mick. Let's just watch Pierre on hards, let's not forget, and let's see how these 2 medium drivers fare for the remainder of this race as their tyres inevitably hopefully go off that little bit faster. So Pierre's got 6% better tyres than Leclerc, 9% better than Verstappen. I'm not sure what that translates to in just pure raw speed right now. And there's the re-overtake that we anticipated happening. Perez, Norris, etc. are closing on the leaders, but I don't think it's enough laps for them to be a problem, factoring in the fact that they will regress faster being on soft tyres. I suspect they'll gain probably about 10 seconds. Perez will probably get into the range of Hamilton by the end of this race. But really, I think at this stage, we've got Mick driving by himself. Is he gaining on Hamilton, Mick? And Perez, Norris and Bottas are going to contend with each other now as well. I thought Perez had a second on Norris. I thought he'd drive clear of him, but apparently not. So I think Mick is just sort of status quoing with Hamilton. There's not really a lot in it. He's got a little bit of extra fuel, so let's push him on that. Sector 1's had a moment. It's thankfully neither of our drivers. Ricardo. Gasly's at the front temporarily, so just push his... Might as well push his little bit of extra fuel while we're at it. I'm not going to rewatch every overtake. Most of them are probably in DRSs, so... Oh, he's actually third now, which isn't great. But we will anticipate the fact that they will... See, that actually, Verstappen's now taken the lead. He's about to hit 40% on his tyres, and there's 10 laps to go. Obviously, we know that through DRS, it's very capable that both drivers can overtake the lead driver if they're close enough. In fact, actually, being third, this might be the opportunity for Pierre to just harvest up a smidge. Get a bit of ERS deployment for the last couple of laps. Just be tactical. Just be tactical. Leclerc's pitted again. Leclerc's pitted again. Sorry, what? Hang on. I just realised he's pitted. Okay, so Max Verstappen may have a second and a bit lead, but he's on 30% tyres and he's pitted anyway. Suddenly, so Perez Bottas did catch Hamilton after all. Multiple cars have crashed. Oh, don't tell me it's a safety car. Not now. Not after we've built ourselves a lead that we have. It's not. It's just a yellow flag. They both got going. Thank you, those 2 drivers, for not being stupid enough to cause that problem. Both of them have penalties, which I just noticed. So this might be, yeah, this is unfortunate. Ocon, unfortunately, has just been giving a penalty by the way the engine works. It's 100% Jack Doohan's fault. In fact, I might just go full conserve with Pierre. He's got a 5-second lead on Mick. So Verstappen came out 7th, which is actually going to put him in a fight with Perez. They're fighting each other, though, of course. Leclerc and him still. I knew they'd probably pit again. I think they'd either be very, very slow at the end or they pit again. So, yeah, those soft runners who went on to use softs are borderline. So Hamilton on his actually fairly comfortable hard tyres is probably going to be comparable speed with them. And Verstappen and Leclerc are going to be catching at a rate of knots now. Verstappen or Leclerc will get fastest lap, I would imagine. Leclerc's got it. Leclerc's just taking it off Bottas, who must have had it when he went on softs. But Perez isn't gaining on Mick Schumacher now because of those tyres. Interestingly, I was bang on. I said they'd gain about 10 seconds. They've actually gained about 13. They've ended up about 10 seconds behind Mick. They've gained about 8 on the lead as things stand, because I think they're now going slower. And we're about to come through for our best result of the season, remarkably. And to think I was going to put Pierre at the back of the grid for this race, or considering it anyway. I'm surprised Max and Leclerc haven't got caught up faster to them lot, because they must be going dead slow. Last lap they're doing the same as Mick and Pierre. 30% softs. Still 30% softs. Leclerc's done a 122.9 on almost new softs. Well, about 75% softs Leclerc's on. Norris is on 27% softs or whatever it was, and he's gone 1.4 seconds slower. Only 1.4 seconds slower. In fact, last lap he was only 1.2. Norris's softs are basically gone. He doesn't really have tyres anymore at this stage. Someone's run wide. I think it's Jack Doohan literally ahead of Pierre Gasly, about to be lapped. It was. Has Ocon been lapped? No, he's about to be lapped. Don't catch him, Pierre. Don't catch him. Just leave him. Let him finish the lap. In fact, he's going to be on soft tyres. Ocon should be faster, but isn't, oddly. Ocon must have car damage. But yeah, just let him do the last lap. Well, this worked out in our favour, didn't it? Hamilton's got to the front of that queue as well. Hamilton's going to be third.
A very good day for the team.
A very good day. That is our best result. 1 and 2, I think, is... I don't think... Have we had a 1-2? So, I know Ocon's the lap down, but it's gone Alpine, Aston Martin, Alpine. Amazing that the Alpine team are third and last. Well, actually second last because of Sainz's retirement. But that is quite funny. Oh, he didn't hold on. It was a photo finish. Perez just nicked it on the line. Oh. Verstappen got to 5th, remarkably. Verstappen did work his way through that pack a little bit. Didn't get to the very front of it again, but almost. If only they got onto hards rather than mediums. If only they hadn't been utter morons. Oh well, it's odd that the strategies are medium soft rather than soft hard, etc. I get the medium hard, but the fact the other two went soft hard was a little bit weird, because I think they would have had a little bit more comfort room. Soft medium was borderline at best if you had fresh sets of softs. If you didn't have fresh sets of softs, that's what happens. But we'll get out of the way. Pierre Gasly, Mick Schumacher, Sergio Perez. So this is going to increase Pierre's lead once again. It's going to increase Aston Martin's lead overall. And it's going to help Mick close up on that pack ahead. Mick looks thrilled, doesn't he? Christ. Sergio Perez's face looks like he's gritting his teeth. I mean, thankfully, when they celebrate, they actually do celebrate with a smile, but they could not look less pleased with the podium itself. Can we just put a smile on their faces when they just stood still, please? Next year as well. They're happy now, kind of. Well then, pit stop, safety car, capitalised. I love that Mick's fastest lap was a 1:24.1 when the fastest lap overall was 1:22.7. Yeah, there needs to be way more differential in times, lap times, based on tyres. And tyre wear is the big problem, because it should be an exponential tyre wear. I think in the game it's still a straight line. I don't think it's an exponential. I think you just basically lose a certain amount of time per lap, effectively. And then there's obviously driver difference per lap. But we'll just wait for the loudest bit of this to get through. Thank you. Right then, now I can think. So yes, ourselves, Mick Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton, ironically the biggest winners out of that. Despite the fact he had the penalty and the wing damage, he was the big gainer through the safety car that he triggered, because he went on to hard tyres like a sensible boy, because presumably he was doing medium to hard originally and then he stuck to that strategy. So yes, Pierre Gasly extends his lead once again, 74 points with 6 races to go. It's not unfathomable, but Mick Schumacher jumps to 3rd because Charles Leclerc only gets 4 points and Carlos Sainz gets none at all. Sergio Perez had a pretty poor race at some point recently as well, which means his 16 points only puts him back in the mix again. 11 points separating Mick in 3rd from Sergio in 6th now. That is getting very tasty indeed. Separating out into a top 2 and then a fight for 3rd. Lewis Hamilton very much joins the party for 7th. Valtteri Bottas getting 8 points as well, makes that 91, 77, 75. George Russell down to 9th now. Lando just getting 6 points and basically being best of the rest. I mean, technically Hamilton's best of the rest because the Alpines probably aren't regarded as being here, but it's Hamilton. And Sebastian Vettel, in all that, I didn't notice, Sebastian Vettel gets himself a point, which leaves Yuki Tsunoda as the only driver without a point. Williams still remain on a singular point. Haas 29, not really, but they're going to be comfortably 8th, I think, as things stand. AlphaTauri seem to be now comfortably 7th. McLaren have separated out into 6th. Alpine by themselves in 5th, as they have been basically all year. Same with Mercedes in 4th. And Ferrari lose ground on Red Bull again, having caught up last time out. 1,000 points apiece for both drivers. Might be a point for Mick Schumacher, actually, in the background. It wasn't, but they can't be far off. There's an important email. Financial changes. Cost cap. It's literally 5 million difference. I'm just going to vote against it for this. I don't think anyone's ever gone close to the cost cap. Oh, I tell a lie. Actually, we have gone relatively close to the cost cap. That's a lot closer than I thought it was. There's only 6 races to go, but yeah, okay. Should be fine. Actually, that's a little weird that we've gone that close. It is 30 million in emergency purchase. If I just get smarter with developing pieces well in advance of Grand Prix, that probably would make a huge difference, really. I think it's also the fact we just also made a lot more car parts this year. Like even making suspensions at, what is it, like 500, 600, 700 grand a piece. Making 7 of those does add up. Well, emergencies. There's going to be one more round of emergency pieces. Because that's coming out literally the day before the Singapore Grand Prix. We're going to have to emergency 4 of those and just build them as normal from there on, I suspect. But there'll be no more car parts to be built, so it'll just be a case of replacing them from there on in, so there'll be no more emergencies, one would presume. But make up to 3rd in the overall championships. You do love to see it. Well, that's it from us. I will see you next time at the Marina Bay circuit with that new rear wing. Not sure how much it's going to really help on a twisty straight circuit. It does have a few decent straights that will benefit from the better DRS and the better straight line speed, but we'll see. I think it does improve ourselves in the corners as well, but not to the same degree as it will in the straights. Still, for a track that I said was probably one of our weakest because of our lack of straight line speed, 1st and 2nd, it's a bloody miracle. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this one, like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, ta-ra.